Welcome, it is Sachi the Seer. We are doing some guided healing Pokemoncy and Tarot. So if you are on your healing journey, ready to begin your healing journey, or progressing in any way, this reading is meant for you. So I was feeling this energy before connecting with the collective energy of not being celebrated in some sort of way that you wish that you were being celebrated. So let's just see what's going on in your healing journey. Let's see where you're at right now. We have Hierophant in reverse and the Star in reverse. So it seems like there has been some, I'll say a traditional, almost patriarchal way of obtaining spiritual information that you have been trying to get, and things were just not necessarily aligning for you. So when I say a patriarchal way, the Hierophant can represent masculine energy in terms of spirituality. So this can be traditional religion, like trying to read something in a book, trying to learn things from other people, if that makes sense. And with the Star energy in reverse, yeah, it just feels like things are not necessarily aligning for you. The systems that whatever the Hierophant is in reverse for you, those systems don't necessarily help with your soul alignment in some sort of way. It's kind of like, you know, one person can read a book on manifestation and it works for them, and then the next person it doesn't, right? Because there are some methods that only work for certain individuals. So it seems like you tried doing something and it didn't necessarily align the way that you wanted it to. So let's see what's the light energy here. We have Ralts using memory skip in reverse, and it's going right to the Star in reverse as well. So it feels like you may be, with memory skip in reverse, it feels like there are some memories that are kind of on loop. Like maybe you have been continuously trying these protocols, I'm hearing, these methods, these protocols, all these sorts of things. And it feels like, how do I want to put this? There are some things from your childhood that are involved here as well. So there can be some like religious or belief programs that are from your childhood coming in here too, because Ralts I always take as the inner child, and as you can hear Archangel Gabriel in the back affirming. Yeah, with memory skip in reverse, it feels like there are some memories that need to be revisited in a way when it comes to relationship with religious, spiritual, or manifestation institutions in some way. And this can also be like Western astrology or things like that. It's any religious or spiritual structure that is run by masculine dominated energy. It says it's highly attuned to the emotions of people in Pokemon. It hides if it senses hostility, and it's going right to the Star in reverse. So it feels like things aren't aligning because there is some sort of hostile energy that is there, and it can be from the inner child. This may be towards, again, religious institutions, spiritual institutions, or maybe, again, you've been trying these methods, they're not working, you're becoming hostile, and therefore your inner child wants to hide away. And the inner child, of course, is the key to alignment, because that's how you have fun, create, play, and things like that. Let's see what's going on in the shadow here. Okay, Trainer, Team Yell, Grunt. Yeah, so Trainer, obviously somebody else's energy. It seems like there were multiple people here in the shadow, and Team Yell, Grunt. So these are people who are, look at them, grumpy, probably yelling. Team Grunt is known as like the bad guys in this series, and they have these like yell horns. They're known for like kind of grungy music people. So part of this can also be maybe some of the music that you are listening to or singing along with, or things that you are even just speaking maybe influencing this hostility as well. So for example, if you're trying to, manifest abundance or whatever, but if you're listening to music that's talking about, hustling and being on the streets and stuff like that, then it's an energetic mismatch. So it feels like there are multiple people who are around you that are, grumpy. This definitely gives the same vibe. Look at that. It's like red and black and, Yeah, so I definitely feel like there are people perhaps associated with this institution. Again, with yelling, there could have been, you know, for example, maybe you grew up in a religious household, family, school, or whatever, and got yelled at because of beliefs or whatever it may be, right? That your inner child had to hide, and it may be playing out again. So let's see a little bit more about this. Oh, we have the Six of Cups and the Eight of Cups in reverse. So yeah, it seems like there are emotions of the past that are on repeat that you simply cannot walk away from at this time. And again, with the memory skip in reverse, there are some inner child memories with worlds here that you're revisiting. And with the Six of Cups, this is all about the nostalgic aspect of it. But to me, I'm picking up more of... it kind of feels like maybe you're trying to think of the past as more of the good side, and that's stopping you from processing some of the trauma of the past. But whatever this emotional cycle is, it feels like you're unable to walk away from it. And again, it feels like the program is that someone's yelling or saying things, you feel hostility, and then you feel the need to hide. So that's the baseline programming, no matter how it's materializing. So this can be, you know, the inner child wanting to express its true self, wanting to be creative, and then whether it's an institution or a parent or a religious figure, whatever it may be, yelling at you that you have to be a certain way, that you have to pretend to be who you are instead of being your true self. So the inner child learns to hide its true self because it feels hostility when it's being its true self. And that's why things are just out of alignment, because the inner child is still hiding, and it seems like you still are afraid to express your true self because you're afraid of the hostility that will happen if you express your true self. And again, that emotional program is still running. And again, this feels like from a very young age. Like this could even be when you're an infant, of like being told to be quiet, behave. You know, like if maybe you're laughing with joy and your parents are on a phone call and they're telling you to be quiet, something like that. So it can materialize in a lot of different ways, but the baseline program remains the same. Let's see what's the light here. So it's an emotional program. So it's the way that you're feeling that is kind of causing this to repeat. So going right to the Eight of Cups is Emolga using Lucky Find and Static Shot. And to the Six of Cups is the third eye chakra coming out stuck, psychic type energy. Yeah, so again, it feels like your third eye, your mental space, is stuck in the past, right? So the way that your emotions are feeling, right? The Six of Cups, since it's cups, it's emotions, it's energy. The emotions of the past of when you were younger are now the mental programs that are stuck in your brain, in the third eye, in the mental space. So you're feeling this way, and then it's causing your brain. So for example, if you feel it's unsafe to be myself, the brain gets stuck in, you must hide. That's the way to be safe, is to hide. When you hide, then you can avoid the yelling. When you hide, you can avoid trouble, right? Getting punished or whatever it may be. With Emolga using Lucky Find and Static Shock, with the Eight of Cups coming out stuck, it feels like there's an ego story, right? A self-identity story. And likely this was programmed into you as a small child of like, oh, you're so lucky. I'm hearing like you could have had it worse. So there's like this energy of like, oh, kind of being stuck in that energy, because again, you're like, oh, well, it could have been worse. Maybe you've been told like, oh, you're lucky you had this when you were a kid, and Static Shock. But the only thing is, it's putting your nervous system in shock. Both of these came out stuck, which is indicating electrical energy. This is your nervous calm system. There's the emotional energy, the emotional program of not being able to break that cycle is stuck in your nervous system. Why? Because you're feeling the same way you did as a child. Therefore, it's stuck in your third eye, in your mental space, and therefore it's stuck in the electrical flow of your body, in your nervous system. So that same program, that emotional program, is now your feelings are telling your mind and brain, your central and peripheral nervous system, the same story. So all your cells are being signaled, this is what's happening. This is the truth. It says, as Emolga flutters through the air, it crackles with electricity. This Pokemon is cute, but it can cause a lot of trouble. Again, there's something about getting in trouble for whatever. Again, maybe it was you did something that was wrong or against your religion, or it was against some sort of, moral thing, whatever that you grew up with. And again, this is a very distorted patriarchal program. Not that the patriarchy itself is not evil. We need healthy patriarchal, healthy masculine leadership. But the way that it has materialized in our society, unfortunately, has been quite toxic in a lot of ways. And it feels like the way that it showed up for you as a child made you feel unsafe to be your true self. So let's see what's going on in the shadow here. We have Fletchling using Flap and Latias using Energy Arrow. So there's a lot about flying here. So I definitely am getting like, with Flap here, it feels like you, how do I want to put this? It feels like what I'm seeing is like little chicklings in a nest that are just learning how to fly, how to use their wings. And it feels like this situation stunted your growth in terms of being able to truly spread your wings and fly the way that you were meant to. Instead, you learn to sort of like glide or have to like flap your wings to stay airborne. So it wasn't like truly like Latias energy of being with Energy Arrow, being very direct of what exactly you want to do and where you want to go. Because obviously if you're hiding your true self, well, then you can't go in the direction of true soul fulfillment, until you accept your true self, of course. So it says, while it's an amiable Pokemon, if you touch it unexpectedly, it will heat up its body in an instant and you'll be burned. So yeah, it's talking about being amiable. So it seems like you learned to be amiable. This definitely gives kind of like people pleasing, right? It's like masking your true self, having your inner child hide so that you can behave in a way where you don't get punished or don't get in trouble, right? Acting cute, being amiable. But if you touch it unexpectedly, it will heat its body in an instant and you'll get burned. So this may have made you very sensitive to touch. Maybe you don't like other people touching you. Or it feels kind of like people who cross your boundaries without you setting them. So for example, if someone touches you and then you burn them, it's more healthy to, tell people like, hey, I don't like being touched. And if I get touched, then you'll get burnt. That's just how this is. Instead of like waiting for the people to touch you and then they get burnt and then it ends up kind of like a conundrum or like a kerfuffle kind of thing. Instead, it's good to set those boundaries on the forefront. But it feels like, again, you didn't learn healthy boundaries because you were taught to just be who they wanted you to be. They wanted you to pretend to be this person that you're not. With Latias, so Latias is a legendary. So I feel like this is pretty intense information. This is also, Latias is the feminine emanation of the Eon Pokemons, or Pokemon. I don't know why I just said Pokemons, of the Eon Pokemon. So it's Latias and Latios. And so this feels very much like needing to heal your own feminine energy. And obviously with distorted masculine coming through the Hierophant in reverse, that can definitely mess up alignment in terms of the way that feminine energy, flow, play, spirituality, intuition shows up, right? And with Energy Arrow, and it's a psychic attack. So again, it feels like this is specifically directed at the third eye. It says it communicates with telepathy. Its body is covered in down that refracts light to make it invisible. Okay. Yeah. So it's talking about communicating using telepathy. Again, instead of learning how to communicate with the throat, of speaking clearly about your boundaries, saying who you are, it's kind of this expectation of like, oh, other people should read my mind and know not to touch me. You know what I mean? When that's not a healthy expectation for anybody. You have to speak and say things in order for them to be, solidified and communicated properly. You can't expect people to read minds. You also can't be expected to read other people's minds. So for example, maybe you meet someone new, you try to read their mind to try to figure out who they want you to be, or how they want you to behave in order to not get in trouble. And it's also talking about how it's covered in down in order to stay invisible. So it feels like in the shadow, again, it feels like you don't want to be touched, right? It's like you want to be perceived as amiable. You want to be perceived as good girl, good boy. You don't want to get in trouble, but you know that, you know, it's like, oh, well, if something happens, then yeah, you'll fight, but it's easier to just act invisible, to have your true self be invisible, rather than to deal with that type of confrontation. So it definitely, this really feels like hiding the true self. That's the deepest wound, hiding the true self. So we are going to head into the extended. If that resonates, you can click on the link below. It is available for Eagle and Phoenix members on my website. If you would like to become a member, please do. Let's take a look in the black mirror to bring us into the extended. What is the shadow program running here? Gilded regret in reverse. So again, it feels like there's this energy, right, of the mental space that feels stuck. It's time to let go of the regrets of the past. And that's part of it, is like, you don't need to shame yourself for hiding your true self. You don't need to shame yourself for having these experiences and acting out of survival, you know, acting out of complete survival to be safe, to not get in trouble, to not get yelled at, you know, to learn to behave and be amiable, you know, all of these sort of people-pleasing programs. They're installed into a lot of us, but it is your responsibility to reprogram yourself, right? There's no reason to shame the past. It's not about being regretful of the past or your experiences, but it's about intentionally moving forward towards, you know, what is actually going to bring you fulfillment. All right, we'll do one more to bring us into the extended. What message wants to bring us into the extended? What do you need to release in reverse? So maybe, and it's coming out in reverse, so maybe it's a little bit less about what you need to release and more about what you need to call in, okay? So we're going to see perhaps, I'm also hearing like, okay, so what I'm hearing is with the release, it's like, you don't have to let go of who you used to be, right? It's like that person is the person that's going to get you to where you want to go in the first place. It's not about skipping those memories. It's not about forgetting them, but it's also not letting those memories continually be stuck in your body, okay? There is a need to release specific things, and it feels like there are some things that you can't release, and that's like this. It's what's running in your emotional body that is causing your nervous system to run that program. But it also feels like it's very specific, that you need to call very specific things in towards you to assist you with this. So in the extended, we will look deeper into what that is. Again, if you would like to click the link below, I will see you there.